All right, week 13 NFL Power Rankings. Shorter week. We got Thanksgiving coming up. A lot going on at the end of the week, so these are going to be a little more compressed. All the videos are going to be a little more compressed this week. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you guys. Let's get right in. Those who watch this channel regularly know I do 7 from the AFC, 7 from the NFC in my top 14. You can see the standings right here. You can pause that if you want to. In the AFC side, very clear cut who the top 7 teams are. There's only 7 teams with winning records. In the NFC, you've got some problems with the NFC South, the NFC West, where you probably don't have the most competitive teams, but you're going to have one of those guys sneaking in, and then you might have some more competition from the NFC West or the NFC North and the NFC East, probably the Philly Eagles and the Washington Commanders, and then the Packers, the Vikings, the Lions. The NFC North is just dominant. So you're going to have some issues up there. The biggest riser for this week, the Seahawks, because they've taken over the division. The farthest faller, the Steelers, losing to the Browns. That's a pretty big eyesore, even though they beat the Ravens the week before. So with that, let's get right into the top 32. At number 32, the Raiders are staying pat. Lost to the Broncos last week. Now they've lost 7 in a row. No movement for the Raiders. They hold down the last spot and face the Chiefs on Black Friday in week 13. At number 31, no movement there either. We're going to have the Giants. They got clobbered by the Buccaneers this last week in week 12 and have now lost 6 in a row. The Giants are on the road to face Dallas on Thanksgiving Day. 3 Thanksgiving Day games this week, so they'll face them this week. Jaguars at 30. They're coming off a bye. I don't really think they're the 3rd worst team in the league, but they've got to win to prove that. They've lost 4 in a row and faced the Texans on Sunday this week. At number 29, you've got the Panthers down 2 spots only because some of these teams are going to jump above from big wins that we didn't expect. So the Panthers gave the Chiefs a fight, though, ultimately ended up losing their winning streak. Sunday's matchup against the Buccaneers could be a sneaky good matchup this week, in my opinion. All right, the Patriots, they've lost 2 in a row now after losing to the Dolphins in week 12. They're at home as underdogs against the Colts in week 13. At 27, you're going to have the Jets also moving down 2 spots. Like I said, these guys are all moving down a couple spots because of teams that jumped ahead of them. The Jets are coming off a bye, but just like the Jaguars, they moved down because the Titans and the Browns both had big upset wins last week. Tough matchup incoming as the Jets have to face the NFC West leading Seahawks in week 13. Titans move up 3 spots after they knocked off the division-leading struggling Texans. We'll see if the Titans could build some momentum this week as they catch another struggling playoff caliber team in the Commanders in week 13. The other team to move up 3 spots, that's the Brownies. Had another big upset this last week as they knocked off division rival Steelers. They draw another very similar opponent this week as they head on the road to face the Broncos on Monday Night Football. The Cowboys aren't going to move. I'm going to keep them where they are. I'd like to move the Cowboys up after their heroic win, but just ahead of them will be the Saints that knocked them off earlier this year. And all these teams are kind of winning right there, so you got to kind of hold some of these pat where they are. Huge win for them nonetheless. This week is a must-win on Thanksgiving against the Giants, though. Saints don't move as well this week. They were on a bye. They're heading in the right direction, though. Sunday, they'll face the Rams, with the winner maintaining hope for the playoffs as we head down the final third of the season. 22 will be the Bengals, also coming off a bye. Many teams right here with the Cowboys, Saints, Bengals, Bears. Super talented teams, but very disappointingly underperforming this year. Tough matchup against the Steelers this Sunday for week 13. The Bears at 21, they don't move either. Yet again, the Bears put up a heroic fight to fall flat at the finish line, losing 5 in a row now with this talented team is going to have everyone on a very short rope. Players are going to have to play with some major pride to snap the losing streak, though, as they face the Lions in Detroit on Thanksgiving Day. Colts held up tough for a few quarters against the Lions last week, but ultimately they're no match for the #1 team in the league. At 4-7, they only moved down 1 spot, but their playoff hopes are hanging on a thread. This week they're against the Patriots. Good opportunity for them to bounce back. The Niners are banged up, battered, bruised, holding down the bottom of the NFC West, a whole game back behind the division leaders. By far their tightest division in football. It'll be tough to get back on track as the Niners continue to be injured and they have to head on the road to face the Bills in week 13. The Rams lost to the Eagles in week 12, but are still in the thick of things in the NFC West. They head to New Orleans to face the Saints this week, where the Saints have been playing tough at home lately. Dolphins move up 3 spots after continuing to look like a completely different team since Tua's been back. They beat the Patriots last week. Now they head to Lambeau for a bitter cold matchup against the Packers in week 13. We all know how the Dolphins play in the cold on the road. Place your bets. Buccaneers, I'm giving the Bucs too much credit, ranking them way too high, but I believe they do earn that division playoff spot once they get healthy. The Buccos are coming off a bye, head to Carolina to face the Panthers in week 13. Cardinals lost the pick'em game last week with the division of the Seahawks. Now, if they want to keep the division, they're going to have to work for it as they head on the road to face the Vikings in week 13. So they drop out of the playoff spots, and the Seahawks are going to jump into the playoff spots. So at number 14, our playoff teams, the Falcons are coming off a bye but have lost 2 in a row. They have to face the Chargers this week, and I don't imagine the NFC South is in secure hands by any of the single team. Expect the 14th spot in the rankings to continue to be held down by whomever is leading the NFC South. And right now, it's slimly the Falcons, but I'm not impressed by any team in the NFC South right now. Like I said, I think the Buccos might end up winning that one once they get healthy. The Commanders are going to be at number 13. They're going to drop 1 spot, move down another spot after losing to the Cowboys last week. They are officially on a losing streak now. The Commanders are being exposed, and Cliff Kingsbury's second half woes in whatever level he's at continue to surface. A week ago, the Titans coming to town would seem like an easy win. Now the Titans team that knocked off the Texans might be a formidable opponent against the Commanders this week. They have lost 3 in a row, so this game against the Titans is pretty important for them. Number 12, the Texans also slip a spot this week as they drop to the division rival that we just talked about. Losing to the Titans in Week 12, they still hold the divisional lead, but the AFC South is looking like one of the weakest divisions in football all of a sudden. They get to face the last place Jaguars this week to try to get back on track and work to build some momentum towards the end of the season. Might be a closer game than people think, though, in Jacksonville. I jumped the Pigeons of the Sea all the way up 5 spots after they convinced me this is a totally new offense and a solid when-needed defense. Last week was a big win against the Cardinals to take the divisional lead, but first through last place is separated by 1 game as every team is either 6-5 or 5-6. Things should start to separate a little bit with upcoming schedules in the West. The Seahawks travel across the country to face the Jets in Week 13. Jets aren't looking strong, but the Seahawks got to show up. All right, my biggest drop of this week, the Seahawks jumped the most and the Steelers dropped the most this week. The Steelers still hold the division, but a week after beating the Ravens, lost to the 3-8 Browns. Make that make sense. The Steelers are still one of the best defenses in football, and if both sides of the ball go rolling in the same game, they'll be hard for any team to beat them. This week, they face another divisional foe as they head on the road to face the Bengals. All right, the Broncos are the real deal, and I'm probably getting a little ahead of myself with their 7-5 record, warranting them this spot this high. 9 is a little high in my opinion still, but I feel like they know how to fight out games to win. An expected win against the Raiders last week isn't that impressive, but remember, this is the team that many thought would be having the number 1 overall pick in 2025. The Broncos are strongly in the mix for the playoffs with a really good offense and defense. Week 13, they get the Browns at home on Monday Night Football. The Packers got yet again another lucky break as they faced the Niners when they were completely depleted and decimated without many of their major starters and without their starting quarterback. How far the Packers will go will depend completely on how much Jordan Love can not suck and how lucky they can continue to get. This week, they luck out again and get the Dolphins team that's terrible on the road in the cold. It's going to be cold in Lambeau this week. Should be an easy win for this lucky, trash, terrible, puke team. All right, number 7, the Chargers. I didn't drop the Chargers after they lost to the Ravens, but the Ravens did leapfrog ahead of them. That ended up being a really good Monday Night Football game, but they did come up short in the end. The Chargers head on the road on Sunday to face the Falcons in Atlanta. Atlanta has played really well at home this year, but the Chargers are looking transformed. This should be a good matchup this week. All right, after losing to the Steelers, the Ravens got back to winning as they beat the Chargers on Monday. The division is back within half a game. It will likely come down to the rematch between the Steelers and Ravens at the end of the year. The Ravens have to face the Eagles in Week 13, and what's the biggest matchup of the week for me? Baltimore is the favorite, but I don't have them favored to win. Should be a fun one to watch. All right, the Vikings went from 99.99% probability of winning against the Bears with less than a minute left to having to step up in overtime to get that win, but they did get the job done when they needed to. Wasn't the prettiest win, but the Vikings are 9-2 at the end of the day. Still 1 game back of the Lions for the strongest division of football, but the Vikings are clearly headed towards the playoff. They host the Cardinals on Sunday. That's an important game for them to keep up with the Lions. The Chiefs almost blew it against the Panthers. To be fair, Bryce Young is starting to look like a quality starting quarterback in the NFL, but this is a common theme for the Chiefs. For their games to continue to come down to the very last play of the game, most would argue they shouldn't move down a spot, and I'm being unfair at 4, but I don't feel like they've established dominance to be a top of the top team. Right now, I wouldn't have them going to the Super Bowl. For now, they're number 4. Let's see how they do against the Raiders in Arrowhead this week, though. The Eagles hold the second longest winning streak in football at 7 games in a row now and hold a more comfortable 2.5 game lead in the division. The way they look on the field and their win against the Rams last week make me have to jump them 2 spots and put them right up there. It looked like the Lions would run away at the NFC and have nobody to contend against them, for a bid to the Super Bowl, but now the Eagles are showing to be a legitimate threat. This week is a true test, and a must-watch game for the week. The Eagles are on the road against the Ravens on Sunday afternoon. At number 2, the Bills hold pat after their big wins and dominant run the last few months, 6 in a row now. They come off a bye, but have that 6-game winning streak on the line. They host the banged-up Niners in Week 13. And at number 1, no change. The Lions continued their run of dominance last week against the Colts, the most balanced and confident team in the NFL that can beat you on both sides of the ball, through the air, on the ground. It's just hard for anyone to stop the Lions from making history this year. It's an age-old tradition to watch the Lions on Thanksgiving Day. They'll host the Bears this Thanksgiving. Will winning streaks and losing streaks continue, or will they both come to an end? We'll see. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Week 13 NFL Power Rankings. Let me know where you think I'm off, where you think I'm on. New videos each Tuesday and Wednesday for Power Rankings and weekly predictions. Like I said, I'm going to try to hurry and get these ones out this week. Let me know what you guys think I got right, what you think I got wrong. But I appreciate you tuning in. If you haven't hit the like button, please do so. And until next time, good luck to all your teams.